Hello and welcome to the show. We are back on the Pine Hills rally stage with 3 more vehicles trying to go as fast as possible. We start with the Hopper. Yes, an off-road vehicle. This is the sport version of the truck, so might stand the best chance of going quick. I'm curious to see if it can go faster than the D-Series Pig. Unfortunately, despite this being an official car, sound is apparently broken on this one. Much like a lot of mod cars, the engine sound is very, very quiet. So I don't quite know what it is that causes all of that, but there we go. It is what we have to deal with on this. Issues I foresee is, well, the handling through the turns isn't exactly going to be the best. That being said, I'm kind of pleasantly surprised with the way that this thing gets changed direction. That's quite good. It is all-wheel drive, so traction out of turns shouldn't be a problem. Relatively high centre of mass may well mean falling over is a possibility, a likelihood. So far, though, has been very, very good all the way through the corners. Not going to be the quickest in terms of straight line speed. Should be able to get away. Ooh, bloody hell. I was about to say, should be able to get away with taking the shortcut down the Meek Peak. Apparently, not really. Oh, are we still? Oh, we have kept the water out of the engine. Well, I guess technically, yeah, that way. I was going to say engine out of the water, but that way around works as well. The steering is buggered, though, by the looks of it. I have no control over my steering, so while the truck has survived, we are not going to be able to get it out of here, unless we get really lucky with just... No, dumb blind luck has not steered us out of it. That's, well, it's still surprisingly workable, but a big tumble nevertheless. The Meek Peak is always a terrifying prospect, just about anything that you drive. Oh, back end let go at the bottom there. That's an unusual one, I say, as the car tumbles its way across a field. Yeah, kind of got it turned in. We were on the limit down the Meek Peak, but it kind of hits the bottom and then span around. Damage mostly cosmetic, really, to the roof. Not bad to say mostly cosmetic, having rolled 3 or 4 times across a field. It's a tough vehicle, this one, even if it does have some slight twitchy moments. Can't quite get up to the 70s, but again, we haven't got massive amounts of power. Even with this being a sport version, we're about to have a really big off moment. Oh dear. Yeah, the back end, it has quite a lot of grip in this for a little while, and then you ask a smidge too much of it, and suddenly it's gone, and suddenly you're in an awful lot of trouble. That time there was enough runoff area to get away with it, but it could have ended a lot worse. I think when it comes to the slow speed corners, and certainly for this opening section, I feel like the Hopper might be better, certainly than the D-Series Pig, although that's not the line to take there. Ouch. This is not going to go well for the poor Hopper. This is not going to be a survivor. Actually, broke drive shaft to the front. It lives! How the hell does this live? If anything, the rear drive shaft should be broken, not the front. How has this survived that crash? It's almost controllable. Almost. That's impressive. That's some serious impressive showing from the Hopper there. Well, the more I drive this Hopper, the more I like it and the more issues become apparent. The suspension, while good of course for dealing with bumps to an extent, if it gets slightly outside of its comfort zone, it gets bounced around, it gets thrown around, and that is not helpful on a course like this. Now, of all the circuits I've done various series on and so on, this is perhaps the least bumpy, but in some ways that makes things worse because you're never quite sure. You can get caught out by the vehicle suddenly bouncing, suddenly snapping and losing control. It is driving very nicely through the tight hairpins, through the slower speed hairpins. I think when we get up to these higher speed sections is when the suspension becomes a bigger issue. Now, we have surprisingly got away with clipping that sandbag on the inside. I'm going to get the brakes nice and early focus on getting the control in the hopper as we head through the pit stop chicane. Only 2 more corners to go. Now, we shouldn't have issues with dealing with the bumps down here. We have got all-wheel drive traction to help power us around Destroyer. Around the final corner we go as well. It is across the line for the hopper and bounce our way through the tree. Oh, that's a solid tree. And there we go. That little tree did a lot of damage to the car. Pleasantly surprised with the amount of grip, certainly the way that it drove through that opening section. The hopper was a very, very nice car, and on the whole, not too difficult to drive. It never looked like it was going to fall over, much like the D-Series Pig did. However, getting up to the higher speed could prove scary, and the suspension, while in the right scenario was good over the bumps, in the wrong scenario it bounced around quite uncomfortably in a way that the D-Series Pig didn't on this circuit, and could bounce it and could get it into a lot of trouble. Will be curious to see how it fares. Certainly doesn't have the power of the D-Series Pig, but suspension better suited for road use potentially. Up next, we have got an estate car, this Chevrolet Caprice wagon. I've got the police version, FBI version of the car. It should be pretty bloody fast, theoretically. How it's going to handle? Not sure. We certainly don't have racing slicks on the car, unlikely to be challenging the top vehicles, but it doesn't have big race aero and race suspension, etc. But could be relatively quick, and perhaps a little bit more road-orientated suspension might do it good across these bumps. Or we snapped the steering coming into the first corner. Might not do so well. Bad things are going on to the poor estate car. Poor estate car is dead. That's very, very, very poorly and very, very stuck in the trees. Oh, it's really understeery. It's really understeery through these corners. I kind of missed the hopper in quite a few different ways. I kind of missed the hopper. Whoa, that's a lot of oversteer. I'm not going to save that. We're going to visit. Oh, that's a nasty one. I think we've actually just taken the... Oh, we've completely twisted the axle, the rear axle out of place there. That was just wobbling. Yeah, that's not healthy. Yeah, it's very understeery, followed by very oversteery, and that's not a good combination of steeries. Curious to see just how much speed can we get up towards the Meek Peak. I mean, I could probably push that more, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to survive the Meek Peak at much more than, sort of 75-ish on the way in. Oh, I can't stop that. Nothing I can do here. We're going into the drink. Don't even think I could pull the car out if I wanted to. Engine's going to get hydrolocked. And that is it. Well, that's the demise. We made it down the Meek Peaks, sorry, surprisingly. Didn't quite keep it together on the exit, but there we go. But I'm not sure I really want to push my luck anymore. Can we straight line the Meek Peak? Surprisingly, we can as we head on towards... Oh, God. There is so much power in this that... ooh. The wall's eating the tire. There is so much power in this that it's spinning up the wheels halfway through gears when I'm not expecting it to. That doesn't really help matters. Oh, the wall's released us, but we're now still stuck. Well, this Chevrolet very much feels like a case of far too much power and far too little grip to go with it. We are accelerating very, very quickly in this. But that's not necessarily helping matters because the tyres, the suspension, the brakes are just not up to task to really deal with a car going this quick. We saw a similar problem with the Barstow. That was just so brutally powerful. It was one of the fastest accelerating cars we had, but it was so difficult to drive around the course because the rest of the car just couldn't deal with the speed that the vehicle was getting. And this, I think, is going to be a fairly similar story. Got to be so very, very careful with the car, and it's really easy to accidentally overdrive it. There we go, though. We are down the Meek Peak nicely. Now, don't get wheel spin as we cross the bridge randomly. make sure we're on the brakes nice and early, because it's going to be a bit of a pain to get it stopped for the pit stop chicane. Now, as we come through here, it is a big car. We have got it through, probably lost a little bit of time with that change of direction. Having to be careful on the throttle on my way up through Destroyer we go. This is where we're likely to have issues with, or possible issues with the car, with the gearbox not being the most cooperative thing. We are across the line though. We made it. I wasn't quite sure we were going to make it up that final ascent for a little bit there. We did get it right. Yeah, way too much power and way too little control. Perhaps not so surprising. I wasn't quite expecting the brutal levels of power that did come with this vehicle. It is a very large car, and of course likely to struggle when the going gets really technical. Wow, yeah, that's a fair bit of power going on. The demands of this sort of course definitely not suited to this this wagon. It doesn't have the grip, anywhere near enough grip to make it through the technical stuff. Our third and final vehicle today should certainly have the grip to make it through the course very quickly indeed. The question is, will it have the strength? Will this FR17 fall apart before we can get to the bottom of the course? Or, more to the point, how slow am I going to have to drive to make it so that the car gets to the bottom of the course? Dear God, there is issues. Okay, I've got to be a lot more careful when it comes to setting off. A lot more careful. Third seems like a nice gear. If we try not to really go below that, might help with the horrendously snappy power delivery. Might be able to make the most of the quarter speed where we can. Might be able to spin the car because we hit the grass, and oh, that's not going to go well for the Formula 1 car. Be so careful in applying any power. If there's a slight bump in the road, which, let's face it, oh, like that for example, there are a lot of things go wrong. And then you visit scenery. Might be able to recover. Oh, car from said. No, we can't recover car from said scenery. We've met another tree again. There we go. We've got it done now. We should be good to. Gee, God, that is fast. Bloody hell, that was a lot of speed all of a sudden. From the Formula 1 car, I'm not sure I've got control of it anymore. I don't. Oh. That surprisingly didn't break anything massively mechanical. Well, it's kind of broken a bit of the rear wheel, but I was not prepared. I know how fast a Formula 1 car is, I know how fast this mod is. Was still not prepared for just how fast that was going to be. Also, I think the diff's a little bit knackered from that. Bloody hell. Thankfully, of course, the brakes are good at getting it stopped. We're into the pit stop chicane now with the Formula 1 car, and I've cocked it up because I forgot about the wheels sticking out so much at the back. Bugger. I mean, it still does kind of well-ish work, but no, that's not going to be a happy Formula 1 team with your car in that condition. So I'm not quite sure why we're rolling back. There we go. As we can now really open the taps on it up towards the Meek Peak. That's 115 miles an hour. That is absurdo levels of speed, but I can't do anything down here. Oh, that snapped and went over. That was a very brutal roll. Very brutal roll indeed. Oh, God. It's terrifying coming up towards the Meek Peak. Now, there is a button for DRS. Not that we're going to. Oh, that tore a huge chunk out of the side pod. I was going to say there's a way to put the DRS open, but you're never going to do that down this course. Yeah, we got bounced. I should have been slower. Should have been slower down the Meek Peak. Thought I could be greedy, and well, that's what happens. We are bobbling again slightly, but we've got it slowed down into the pit stop chicane. Ooh. That just didn't turn. We just turned into the corner and it went straight on. I think I might have hit a bump and got the front. Ah, that's why. Okay, figured it out. There is a small bump in the road there, and as I turned in, the car beached, and then we lost steering. Oh, that's a new problem. So we might have found a large difficulty, a completely unusual place for the FR17. You see, these early bumps are vicious, of course they are, to the car, but we can find ways to survive them. It's doing a fairly good job, let's face it, of surviving some of these early bumps. We know we're not losing wheels, we're not losing other important bits across them. The real problems have come with trying to use power out of the corners, trying to make the most of the grip, and so on, and the car's tendency to spin. The pit stop chicane, though, does throw up another potential problem with that car wanting to beach itself. We are going to have a real tough time carrying any speed over that part of the course, so I'm going to have to potentially be very, very, very cautious here, because I need to get the car around like so. There we go, we're across. Now, it is quite rough down here. Up towards Destroyer we go in the Formula 1 car. Oh yeah, it's not liking this climb whatsoever. It's so bumpy and so rough. We can fire it across the line, and spin is a pretty good finish. Actually, pretty good dance after crossing the finish line. Is it good enough to beat the late model? I don't know. That'll be up to you guys to decide for its ending stunt. That final section was a lot more trouble than I expected it to be. I was, you know, the Meek Peak and some of the early bumps, especially the bumps into turn 1, they were the areas that I thought were going to be the car's biggest issue. And while we didn't have spectacular crashes, it was very uncomfortable, very unhappy trying to carry any speed around Destroyer. I think the car's bottoming out. I think the car is bottoming. You can see how low it is here, and the elevation change and the roughness of the road there. It's bottoming out almost constantly, wanting to spin wheels, and yeah, not really getting steering at times. It's not fun through there. Really, really not fun at all through there. I suspect very fast through that opening section. Will it have lost enough time through these last technical parts to not be able to go top of the leaderboard or to be unbeatable? I don't know. I think it's still going to be a very quick car, but there are certainly weaknesses to this vehicle. So, on to our leaderboard, and we do have a new fastest car. The FR17, 1 minute 1.0 will lead the way, almost 3 seconds faster than the Pizima race car. That's perhaps not so surprising, of course, to see the Formula 1 car at the top, although I don't think it's an insurmountable time through the first part of the lap. Very much so, it's incredibly quick, but lost a lot of time around the pit stop chicane in the final couple of corners because of the roughness of the road. It just couldn't use its power and use its grip. Further down, we find the Hopper Sport. Actually, good time, very good time from that. 1 minute 10.9, only a tenth of a second down on the D-Series Pig. I thought they might be quite close. The Hopper perhaps a little quicker through the opening sections. Actually, a really good vehicle to drive. You know, that's faster than the Legrand Sport. So, yeah, the Hopper put in a better showing than I was expecting. It's only a second and a half-ish slower than a Convert Rally car. So, yeah, that's a good time from that. And the Chevrolet Caprice, or wagon, 114.5, very similar in many ways to the Barstow. Too much power, far too little grip, made it quite the handful down the course. But it does beat the little Fiat and the blue-collar pickup truck. That, though, is going to be it for this video. As ever, I shall link all the mods used in the description, so you can download them, have a go with them yourself. But that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.